Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend. So, Mia, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to round 2.
Thanks.
You guys don't know this, but we're recording this for the second time. Technical difficulties, but that's okay. So, Mia, please share with me where Mindfull came from. What was the inspiration for that? Why did you start that movement? And I know that you have 3 pillars now.
Yes.
Would you please shine some light on what those pillars are as well?
For sure. So Mindfull kind of came from my need to have and be part of a community like what I have created. So essentially, it's a community and a brand built on empowering people through different ways. So we've got different pillars that we're establishing, and it's a work in progress. But very much aware that people need different things at different stages of their lives and tapping into that. So what you need at this phase that you're in might be different to what I need and whoever else is listening needs. So kind of creating just like a platform and a hub where people can come and take what they need and leave with that, hopefully a little bit lighter and hopefully feeling a little bit more confident in who they are. I think it's really, I needed the kind of content I'm trying to put out. So if for anyone, it was definitely for me, but also realizing that other people must be feeling the same. Like, yes, we see a lot of stuff online about people being happy and positive and living great lives, but the reality of it is that we all need a little bit of help sometimes, and hopefully Mindfull can be the place to offer that help. Just in terms of our pillars that we've got going, we've got 3 pillars so far. Hopefully that'll grow a lot more in future. But essentially we're focusing on those 3 things at the moment. So the first one is movement, how we can empower ourselves through movement, what movement means, not only for your body, but also for your mind. I think when you change your relationship with movement and your why, that is like incredible. And that was the biggest shift for my personal journey with movement. And through that, we do things like hosting events. We did an event probably 2 years ago, maybe. You were still in the old gym. And that wasn't actually under the Mindfull pillar, but it was essentially what I wanted to embody through Mindfull. So having meetups of people running, walking, doing exercise together, and through that community, realizing the power of movement. No, you're not running a certain time, and no, you're not trying to be faster than someone else, but you're meeting people and you're socializing and just connecting with like-minded people. And that was important for me through the movement tier. Secondly, we've got a pillar of education. So podcasts, books. We try and share as much as we can about things that have helped us on our journeys and educational content, as I think that education really is the power to everything. If you're interested in something, educate yourself about it. If you're feeling a certain way, educate yourself about it. And under that, we've also launched the book club, which we've been doing for a year. That was our first official community kind of project. So we meet once a month, we share things about books, what we've learned, what we liked, what we didn't like, and educate each other through that. And the last pillar is kind of like general mental health related content. So tips and tricks. We've got some guests that come up onto the Instagram page and chat about things, as well as some registered professionals who give some tips and tricks. For people who just want some help and want some tips on perhaps it's managing stress, anxiety, breathing, all that kind of thing. So whatever it is that you need, hopefully you can find it in that realm of stuff.
And how... That's awesome. And as we spoke about earlier, I think having that focus on those 3 main pillars is really amazing, because it allows you to go and be really intentional with that content and put proper effort into them. Because at the beginning, as you know, it can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff that you want to do and you want to really resonate with people. So you have got to have that focus. Yeah. What was it that... Or maybe paint a picture of Mia experiencing the need for a platform like this and not having it. How did that come about? In what realm were you looking to educate yourself on a specific thing and you were finding it difficult to find or connect with that content, or you wanted to redefine your relationship with exercise, but you weren't so sure what events you could go to.
Sure.
How was that experience for you?
So I think that's an interesting one because I think community is quite a buzzword at the moment. And I think there are a lot of great businesses, platforms that embrace the concept of community. So I'm definitely not discrediting that. But I found that there wasn't a place that people could come together as a community for different reasons. I think there are a lot of run clubs, there are a lot of, cold water swim clubs, all of those kind of things which are fab, which I love. But kind of bringing people together that need different things, that concept of a community wasn't apparent for me kind of in a Cape Town environment and accessible for me. And at the same time, I was working quite a hectic corporate job, which just made me like stressed out and anxious and nobody understands what I'm going through, all of those kind of thoughts that pop up in your mind. So being overly stressed out and anxious in a space, quite honestly, in my life that I knew I didn't want to be there. I was pouring into a cup that wasn't necessarily which cup I wanted to be filling in. And then having this need to be a part of a community where I can just meet normal people who's not trying to be better than anyone else, who are just trying to like connect and meet new people. And I mean, I'm an introvert. I'm like a huge introvert. So for me, wanting a community like that was quite a shock. But yeah, so I think a combination of being in an unhappy work environment, but also wanting to connect people from all walks of life and not necessarily just with a common goal in mind.
I love how you've also identified movement as a key pillar. Movement's definitely something that has been pretty transformative in my life.
Yeah.
But it's weird to even call it transformative because it's almost like breathing. It feels like it's just been there the whole time.
Yeah.
I can definitely remember getting into it, so it hasn't been there the whole time, but it's helped me navigate some really challenging things.
Yeah.
What about movement has really spoken to you and become so important to you that it's literally one of the foundational pillars of the platform that you're creating in Mindfull? It's obviously had a very profound impact on your life.
For sure.
So what about movement has held your hand or opened your mind up to something that you didn't have before getting in touch with movement?
I love how you say, like, what about movement has been holding your hand? Because I think there are two aspects of it. The one is kind of strength, not in the way you think I'm going to say, but the other one is play. And I remember you saying once in the gym that movement is a form of play. We have been moving our whole lives, basically, since we can play outside on the jungle gym as a child, whatever. But I think due to a whole lot of pressures and external factors, our relationship, and I think specifically for women as well, changes dramatically the older you get. With movement. So I think we very quickly feel like we have to move to look a certain way, to be a certain speed, to be a certain weight. And then that relationship of, I used to play outside, it used to be fun, like I used to enjoy it, quickly gets diminished. And when you kind of take it back to that, you realize it's not actually that serious. Like, yes, I do want to run the marathon. Yes, I do want to do high rocks or whatever it may be. But like, am I enjoying it? Is it what I want to be doing? Or should I maybe pivot and try something new that's, that is enjoyable for me? Maybe I don't like running, but I do like being in the gym and changing it up and not being scared to change it up. That was monumental for me to realize I don't have to be doing stuff just because everyone else is doing it and just because it looks like that's what people want me to be doing, right? Like when you're 16 years old and you're seeing all this stuff online, like that is quite frankly what goes through your mind. Like everyone is now running, I should run. And that's not true. If it doesn't work for you, if you don't enjoy it, I firmly believe that you shouldn't be doing it. And the second thing was the inner strength it showed me. Yes, most people do want to be fit and healthy 100%, but like I really don't think it's spoken about how challenging exercise can be and I'm definitely not saying all forms of movement need to be challenging, but if you do want to challenge yourself in a hectic gym session or Pilates or a run, coming out of that, you just feel good. And I know scientifically that's endorphins as well, but kind of setting that challenge for yourself and getting through the hour of movement and being like, flip, I actually did that. Like halfway through, I thought I was going to like not be able to do that at all. But I came out the other side, like I actually impressed myself because I actually did it better than I thought I could. Like that whole mental challenge you set for yourself and get through, I think is invaluable. And I don't think you get it in any other form, really. I think it's personally for me my best form of therapy, and I just feel great after moving. But that being said, it doesn't need to be challenging movement all the time. I feel great when I get outside and I go for a 20-minute walk on the promenade in the sunshine, and I come back home and I work. I just think it's transforming your relationship with movement and finding your why. Don't do it because other people are saying you should do it. Don't do it because someone on Instagram is saying it's the new trend. Do it because you love it, and you enjoy it, and you feel better afterwards, if you know what I mean.
Yes. I really liked how you spoke to the element of play around movement, and I think it does seem quite natural to start moving in the direction of, because if we try and figure out what play actually means, in my mind what play means is it's to do something purely for its own sake. It's not doing it as a means to an end. You're not trying to get any sort of outcome. The outcome is the task. It's the thing. It's like I'm walking because I'm walking. Like I'm not walking because I want to, get somewhere exactly, or because I want to lose weight, or it's like I'm just walking. And then that activity becomes, in my mind, play.
Yes.
So what do you think are the things that move us away, and you can potentially speak to women specifically, as you mentioned, that move women away from connecting with movement in a playful sense, and how can you potentially reconnect with that?
Sure.
How have you managed to do that?
Sure. So, I mean, for full transparency, I'm probably also still battling that, and I think it's a journey that most women will battle for the majority of their life. But firstly, it's who you surround yourself with. I think check your circles. If you are experiencing pressure from people in a negative way, that's uncalled for. Like no one needs to be around people that drag them down. But also check your environment. What are you exposed to on social media? What are you watching? What are you looking at and aspiring to be, and why? I think very much, again, at that pivotal age, when you're like 15, 16, like I can obviously only speak to being a young woman at 15, 16, there is so much external pressure with the rise of social media as well, that just makes you feel like you have to be a certain way, and everyone that's like looks good looks a certain way and does this and wears this, etc. So I think that plays a huge role in it, and I think that is really where your relationship starts deteriorating at that age. And if we can be more like instrumental and intentional about, maybe as mothers, etc., to tell and try and, I don't know how one protects your children from that, but reiterate, that individuality and uniqueness is a total strength, and you don't always have to do things because you're seeing it online, and navigating those external pressures. I think that's pivotal. Teenage years are always going to be tough, but then also learning how to get out of it. So I think I was probably really only 22, 23 when I changed my mindset about a lot of things, and I was intentional about it. I realized what I was consuming was not okay, and it wasn't beneficial, and it was making me feel like really bad. And I changed my relationship with it. I unfollowed a bunch of people and pages and realized, well, you know what? I don't really like running tons, so maybe I'll do something else. That'll also keep me healthy and also keep me fit, but something that I also enjoy. So yeah, I think it's a lot to do about the people around you and what you're exposed to, but also being intentional and being able to realize when things are not serving you in the capacity that they should.
Yeah, I think that exposure thing is huge, because it's like, how are we introducing movement to, let's say, a small child? What is the paradigm that they have around what this thing is for?
Exactly.
When it's just a completely forming mind, the little kid is like climbing and rolling around on the ground.
Exactly.
And there's no thought behind it. It is just totally playful.
Exactly.
And then I think slowly it starts to become more regimented and like streamlined into a specific process where you're trying to get a certain outcome. And I think that is fine, but I think if you leave that unchecked, it can quickly turn into a thing of, now I associate movement with like, it has to be attached to an output. And for me, it's weird because I think that the output element of the movement is really enjoyable. I
Yeah,
do find
yeah,
that
yeah.
fun. Like I find
Agreed.
the journey that I go on to achieve a certain little goal that for me is just something I want to do. I do find that enjoyable. But and if I try and reflect on like how I kept that playful, I don't know. I think it's maybe it's a difficult one.
It
I
is.
think it has to do with like why are you, again, as you said, finding your why. It's like
Yeah.
why are you pursuing that specific goal? Are you
Yeah.
pursuing it because you're trying to appease the people around you, or are you doing it
Exactly.
because you're just curious about what it feels like to prepare for a difficult run or lift or
Yeah.
rock climb or something that you haven't done before? There, I think that that's okay, and it is still quite playful because you're just doing
Yeah.
it because.
Exactly. And it's because it's something that you want to do. Like there's a challenge that you've set yourself personally to overcome a few challenges or whatever it may be. But it's not because you feel pressured into doing it for other people. I think that's the differentiator, because as humans we are competitive people, and it's really great when you achieve something that's been challenging and that you've wanted to pursue, right? So I'm definitely not saying that all of that competitiveness is bad. I think just enter into competition because it's something that you like, you want to set that challenge for yourself. It's not because it's on trend, you know.
I also think it's very context specific. Like
Yeah.
like a different person might respond very differently to a competition environment or
Yeah.
a goal specific training protocol.
Exactly.
For me, it's like, you know, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. I'm like having the best time of my life. This is like so much fun. But for the next person, it might be like, oh, this is so, you know, formulaic. I don't want to do it like that. I just
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
play fives, and I just want to.
Exactly.
And I think honoring that is really important.
Yeah.
And I also think there might be a natural, like I think it might be natural for us to deviate a little bit from play and then come back to it.
100%.
Because I've spoken to a lot of men as well, and they also say, you know, I started, even if I look at myself, like when I started lifting, it was predominantly for vanity. Why is there vanity? Because you want to be perceived in a certain way
Yep.
by society. You know,
Exactly.
why am I doing that? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm seeing these other strong
Huge
older
guys.
dudes, and it's like, okay, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're like, okay, that pursuit is maybe just not serving me, or it's boring, or it's.
Yeah.
And then how do we get back to it? And I think, as you said, it is kind of a continuous thing.
Always.
And it's also very iterative. It's like you might now like walking a lot.
Exactly.
And then maybe next year you like swimming.
Yeah.
And then maybe in 6 months you like something else.
Exactly.
And trying to get to a place where we can relieve the pressure of tying an identity to a certain form of exercise
100%.
as well.
I think that's so important, and that's really maybe where the element of play comes in for me personally in my journey, is that I love different forms of exercise. Like, you won't find me in this gym like every day for 6 months, like on end. Like 1 month, I want to be running a bit more, like if the weather's great, then walking, then Pilates, then gym. And I think that kind of like trying something new or changing it up is also an element of play, I would say. That not, and maybe if you are a runner and you want to run all the time, that's 100%. If that works for you, it doesn't work for me. So the way that I keep enjoyment and play through movement is to change it up, and put myself out of my comfort zone, because maybe I'm like terrible at running, but you know, I still want to run, and that's cool. Like, I run because I want to do it. It's not because I see all of this running content. And that's where that relationship with your why comes in again, right?
And when it comes to exercise and movement for you, when you're going through, because we all do, so when you go through a period of the workouts and the getting yourself out to go and do some exercise, it's just feeling way more difficult.
Yeah.
Like winter time, you know, it's
Yes.
cold, you want to stay in bed. How do you work through that? Do you kind of lean into that? Do you take the foot off a little bit and reduce it from 3 sessions to 2 sessions a week, or are you quite disciplined and it's a non-negotiable? How do you navigate those kind of ups and downs in
Yeah.
terms of your excitement around exercise?
So I think a big thing, and something that I still struggle with, is acceptance. Like, we're all going to have those periods in our life, and it's normal. And I just think we need to learn to be okay with it and accept it for what it is. That being said, not to like overindulge in it, but to be okay with life's ride, you know. Sometimes you're going to feel extra productive, sometimes not. But firstly, accepting where you are was a massive thing for me, because what happened was I would go through these phases and then be like, oh, flip, like I can't be feeling like this is really bad, and then pushing myself through this phase and then burning out. So one thing I definitely in that realm have been struggling with is consistency. When I was doing something, I was doing it at 200%, which is obviously not sustainable. And then I would fall into that dip quite quickly where I didn't want to do anything and no form of movement. So I'm still trying to be a little bit more consistent, but I think over the last year, proud to say that I think I've got it a little bit better. But to just, when I'm there, take the rest, be okay.
What does that look like, though? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Is
So
it a reduction in training, or is it a complete abstinence? You're not doing it at all?
no, I think it's a reduction. I think you still have to keep yourself accountable. So a reduction in what it is. So maybe I was doing 6 workouts between gym and Pilates, and maybe this week I'm sticking to like 2 lower intensity Pilates classes, and I'm going for a walk twice this week. So doing a little bit less. I think if you can still do something, I think it's great. And that's again when I said like movement is literally therapy. So if you can move yourself and drag yourself out for a walk, even when you're feeling like down like that, I promise you'll feel so much better. So doing that, but maybe not pushing yourself as hard as you were when you were feeling optimal and really strong and healthy, and being okay with not pushing yourself that much, because I think as A-type personalities, we get quite angry with ourselves when we can't be there all the time. So, yeah, pushing less, doing a little bit less, but also being okay with doing a little bit less.
That's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
difficult. And I think again, it's also different for different people.
Yeah.
I think I've benefited tremendously from taking my foot off a little bit this
Yeah.
year, but it's definitely been a back and forth of acceptance, you know,
Yeah.
where I know that if I wanted to, I could definitely grit my teeth and just keep things where
Yeah.
I was, you know, for the last 5 years. But I definitely, I miscalculated my effort for over the last, what was last year? 2024. 2024 was like a big learning curve, because I had a
Sure.
very big start to the year from an exercise point of view, and I love that. It's like, that's my play, you know. It's
Yeah.
fun. 2 big events, and then usually when I rest, and I've actually spoken about this on the podcast before, I rest completely. I don't,
Okay.
you know, I'm not going to say yes to events. I'm not going to, you know, I'll probably go for like a hike here and there. I'll drop my training frequency from, and this is very, very high, but it's also because I came from a high performance sport background. It'll drop from like 10 sessions a week to, you know, 4, you know, which is like pretty normal, but for my body, it feels like a huge,
Yeah.
like just like I'm resting. You
Yeah.
know?
That's
And
more
even-
than half.
Yeah,
For you.
it's like maybe even 3. It's like just
Yeah.
like a lift here and there and a walk and a whatever. But last year I was like saying yes to a whole bunch of events after my 2 big events.
Okay.
I wasn't prepping, so I was like, it's fine. I'm just doing them for fun.
Yeah.
But it really whacked me when I tried to start another prep at the beginning of this year, and I was like, why am I just not getting going?
For
Like,
sure,
Why
for
is
sure.
it not like? Usually I'm just like.
Your body's
"Oh,
like, help.
But you know what's strange is it wasn't. I don't even think it was my body. I think it was my mind.
Okay.
I think I was literally just burnt out.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, I didn't do the normal proper rest, and now I just don't feel like doing this thing.
Yeah.
And that I was like, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because this thing of movement is like my whole life.
Yeah,
It's
for
my
sure.
Career, it's my social, it's my play. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I'm not feeling connected to this thing,
For sure.
then let's maybe try a different approach.
Yeah.
Literally for the last 4 months, I've been like maybe running once, sometimes twice every few weeks, lifting maybe twice a week,
Yeah.
doing a new form of exercise in the jiu-jitsu, like trying to reconnect with that play thing. And it's definitely been hugely beneficial, because now I'm like chomping at the bit to
Yeah.
start training properly again.
Amazing.
But it was a really weird patch of like,
Sure.
I know that I've got to take this rest.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a thing of, you get used to doing, it's like almost like a routine.
100%.
And you have to be very open to just dialing it back when that's what
Yeah.
your whole everything is asking for.
No, exactly.
But it's also, weirdly enough, I don't think I experienced any guilt. I thought maybe that might have been something that came up more.
Sure.
Because if you do train a lot and then you reduce
Yeah.
it, sometimes you might be judgmental of yourself.
Yes.
It just felt kind of weird, and I felt a bit like uneasy.
Sure.
But then leaning into that and accepting that, I think I'm going to have the best 6 months ever now.
Definitely.
Because I'm ready to go again.
Amazing.
And you actually end up getting more out of your movement
Yes.
by leaning into those ebbs and flows.
100%. And I think like this was the perfect example of how people differ, and like what works for me won't always work for you, right? But acknowledging that you need rest in whatever form it is for you, and acknowledging that you will be better because of it, is something that I think needs to be spoken about more. Like, one can't just put and push yourself to the brink all the time and expect your body and your mind to just be like, cool, let's keep going, because at some stage either your body or your mind or both are going to be like, I can't keep up with this anymore. And you kind of ideally want to give yourself that break before you get there, so that you can kind of remain consistent over the longer term, even if that means, training intensely for a year and then taking 4 months off. Like, still, you knew you had to do that. And that is consistency in its own right, to know that you can then go back and slowly kind of find your relationship with movement, and acknowledging over the long term, you want to still nurture that relationship. But for now, like, taking a step back for kind of that greater relationship, I think is really, really great.
It's kind of applying more of a macro perspective
Yes.
to your exercise.
Yeah.
It's not looking at it in the granular day-to-day, workout to workout. It's more like, what is the actual purpose of this thing for me in my
100%.
life, and like, am I honoring that now?
Exactly.
And then, just being mindful of that.
And that's really embodies exactly what my journey with movement and kind of what I've tried and what I am trying to do through Mindfull with it is, in the bigger picture, in the long run, why are you moving? Don't be so fixated on like your pace or how many reps in this specific workout, but like, wow, this week you've done maybe 2 workouts, maybe 7 workouts, and in the longer term, like, you have remained consistent, and you have, you're improving yourself for yourself consistently. You're not doing like 100 workouts and then 0 workouts and then being like healthy, unhealthy, like, just to kind of nurture a holistic kind of macro lens and relationship with movement, and realizing it's not just about like what I'm doing now, it's about what is that going to benefit you in the long run. Yes, you're going to be fit and healthy, but your mind is also going to be so fit and healthy. And
Yes.
that's what it's about for me.
And that also ties into exactly what it seems like the mission of Mindfull is, which is not to take things in isolation. It's got to be integrated.
Exactly.
It's like, it's all, like you said, holistic. It's a holistic system.
Exactly.
You can move the needle quite significantly by being very hyper focused on one thing, but then if you neglect the other things, you're not actually going to feel full.
Yeah.
And I wonder, is that why you spell Mindfull like with a full, because it's kind of a full existence? Or
Exactly that. So like the whole idea between Mindfull is that you want to be filling your mind with stuff that is empowering and good, but also realistic. And kind of, what are you filling your mind with? That's always, I ask the people the question, what is it that you are like feeding into your body? Literally, but also in terms of like affirmations and kind of the more like self-help meditation part of it. So just to be making sure that whatever you're putting into your body is benefiting you and is going to work for you in the long run, not feeding into negative thoughts and any kind of negative content out there. So that whole full idea, someone asked me the other day, what does modern wellness mean to you? And I was like, that's a good question. But then it's again that whole embodiment of, what is your relationship with movement, with mental health, with your socials and your technology, with people? Like, yes, you can have one thing without the other, but I don't think that is sustainable in the long run. And being able to kind of, I'm not saying everyone is great, I'm definitely not great at all of it, but just being conscious and aware that there are so many different pillars of wellness, and if you can kind of tap into some of them more than just one specific one, I think that is beneficial, and that's kind of what we're trying to do with Mindfull.
I think it's also having a mental model like you have around, because that's also what I think Mindfull is. It's a mental model of what it means to live a full and healthy life,
Yeah.
and to sort of be in whatever equilibrium is for you in that point in time, I think it's helpful because it allows you to, if you want to go more intensely at a specific pillar for a while, that's fine, but also remember just to top up on the other ones.
Exactly.
Because if you totally forget about them, then it's going to be, as you said, unsustainable. Sustainable. We also have, also about 2 years ago, we did an event where I spoke about my mental model for wellness, which is mindset, movement, nourishment, and play. And the nourishment aspect, I think, is quite aligned with a lot of what you've spoken about, because it's not only about food, it's about your media consumption, it's about what conversations you have and who you hang around. Which I think is incredibly important. I want to end off on asking about, because we haven't touched on it that much this time, but with your day job, obviously Mindfull is something that you're really passionate about, and that's, you know, your labor of love. How do you manage to make the time whilst, because now I don't think we've mentioned in this time recording, but Mindfull is not the only thing Mia does. She has a full-time day job. How do you do both of those things? And how, what is the just how do you do that? Because I think there are a lot of people listening who probably have things they're passionate about, but they're committed to working a regular job and they're not sure how to fit that in.
I mean, something's got to pay the bills, and not everyone's got the luxury of just, immediately falling into their passion project. So it's a very real kind of debate out there, I could imagine, for those listening. It can be done, is what I will start off with, that even if it's difficult and you've got to make quite a few sacrifices, it definitely can be done. But it did mean, sacrificing quite a bit. Coming home late in the evenings means there's a lot you want to fit into the little bit of the day you have left for yourself after coming back from a corporate job. Seeing friends, seeing family, social events, just chilling and just watching series, all of those kind of things is all stuff we want to do as human beings. But I just consciously made the choice, I think, to prioritize Mindfull and to know that that really is where my passion lies, and it can help so many people out there. So just, whether it's I come home at 10 p.m., okay, maybe if I come home at 10 p.m., I'm going to sleep. But if I'm coming home at 8 p.m., maybe just spend an hour looking at what is our content looking like for the week, what do I want to get out there. Just it doesn't need to be spending all the free time you have pouring into it, but some of that free time does have to be poured into it. And I think being okay to make sacrifices for a short while is important, knowing that in the long term it's going to pay off. And if you are surrounded by the right people, they will understand that and they'll respect that. And then also just being conscious with it. Make the decision. If you want to do it, go for it and make it work. Whether you have to wake up a bit earlier or go to bed a bit later for a short period of time, I promise you it'll pay off. But the reality is that it is also tough and demanding, and I just do what I can, and I've learned to not feel guilty when I can't do more than what the day allows. And just see where it goes. I think organic growth is underestimated. I don't think we always need to want to do 100% from the get-go. So navigating organic growth and how you do that, and just taking it day by day as well.
So taking it day by day, prioritizing it.
Yes.
But also being realistic in that sometimes, you'll miss a day, you'll miss 2 days.
Yeah.
It happens when you're trying to balance things, and that the passion project is not the full-time thing.
Yes, but also being conscious that that is your passion project and it is the thing that you are choosing to pour into. I think if you don't make that decision in your mind, then it's always going to fall to the back of your priorities.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying longer than initially planned.
No worries.
And where can people find you, and where can they find Mindfull?
Cool. So we have an Instagram page, which is mindfull.bymia, I think. And then we have a website as well. We've got some cool merch spreading the good vibes. But Instagram is our main platform for now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Seb.
This is Beyond Physical. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Bye.